Okay, this is that beat I was referring to earlier, where I did the beat for the Redman and Method Man How High track. And what I ended up doing was auditioning this beat to that beat. This one is 162. I ended up slowing this down to 91 to use for that particular remix. But this was done for a Missy Elliott remix, that Hot Boy song that she had come out with, had Nas and a couple other people on it. And so what I ended up doing in here was changing up the arrangement here and there, like when different MCs start flowing at the end. I'd had some change ups of how I had the arrangement going. When I used it for the Method Man and Redman Al High remix, I ended up pulling out some stuff, and here I have all that stuff still in there. So you can go in there and tear this track apart. There's a lot of different stuff going on. You know, I had the drums. I had them. I think I was. No, I didn't use any of the sequencer, but I changed up a lot of how I did the drums. I added drums to drum loops that I had. That actually, these are drum loops I think that came with the program. They were like quick drum and bass loops that I already had really high tempos. This was so early on, and again, talking about how I really didn't know what I was doing. Not that I necessarily know what I'm doing now. It's just back then I didn't really have anywhere to even start, so I just started trying stuff. So like right away, the remix, the original tempo for the song was not 162 BPM. It was probably half this, so it was probably like 80 something or 78 or something like that, 76. But what happened was, because I was still really new to using reason and using logic and stuff, I really didn't understand anything about tempo and timing and stuff, and I just knew I was trying to line things up. So when I ended up lining this up and trying to get the drums matched up with the track, I ended up at 162 instead of realizing this actually probably should have been, 76 or whatever. So because I did that, what ended up happening was, since the tempo was already so high, that let me pull like you know, drum and bass sounds from the stock Logic sample sets uh, uh, to audition to it. So these are some of the loops I'm talking about. And this one. And what I ended up doing was, instead of just pulling them and then copying them in, I was putting them to track as is, not really editing stuff, but I was cutting out certain pieces that I didn't want to use, because I was only using certain parts of the loop. So, even though I was basically cheating, at the same time, I call it cheating because, it's like you just grab the loop and throw it in there. And, a lot of people do that for anything that they're sampling and putting in there. Sometimes there's no, rule that you have to modify the sample, but I usually don't just take something and throw it in there like that. But with these particular tracks, I was doing that because it was just a company stuff that I was already doing. Like, say I already programmed. This wasn't even a patch. I just went in and found certain sounds that I liked, and then started plugging them in there and using them. So we had this kick, the same snare but then slightly pitched, so it sounds a little different. And then this weird sound, some hats and stuff like that. And so that's what that's what I ended up doing with this one. Here's another drum bass, you know, uh, loop that I pulled in to use, and that one's pretty popular. I think that one's pretty famous or whatever. And then put into my own bass sounds, a little bass synthesizer, and I had this sample for this flame. And this was a sample. I don't even think I used it for anything. Fire! No, yes, I didn't even use that. So I had the flames, I had the bass, I had a whole bunch of drums, and then the drums that I patterned. So this is what it ended up sounding like for the most part. other stuff to like here. I end up using that one because I like the chimes and bells in there. So. So once you put it all together, that's what you ended up with. And of course, like I said, the beat changes up several times in the track because at first you have the Missy part where she's doing her thing, and then it changes up when I think Nas starts flowing here. And then I think Q-Tip or Eve or somebody comes in. So anyway, that's that. Again, this is another one of those ones where you can download it, but there's really no samples or anything in there that I was using. As all relatively stock sounds that came with Reason, other than the flame sound. But I lost all that stuff when the drive crashed. So you can download that and play around with that if you want. Throw me some feedback or whatever. Let me know what you thought about it. ominousred@gmail.com.